You know what? Very interesting is this fig tree is getting more and more tender every day. And let me explain why. Because as a hunter and a trapper, you always look for the best shot, right? The best set, right? And it's interesting because not only I'm Canada, so on your local newses of CNN and Fox News or Global News or CTV or MSN, all these things, they're all preaching now peace and the planet, right? So, because this comes down to worship the creation, but not only that, the internet, the social media now part of it, now in the programming from the father of lies, has now told the whole world that Christ is about to return. Like everybody in their gut kind of knows things are changing. Oh yeah, Christ could be near, but nobody knows, right? And they go on with their lives. But lots preaching of September 23rd, Christ is going to return. And September 23rd, Trump is speaking at United Nations. And September 23rd, Feast of Trumpets. This deer is walking broadside onto the field to be deceived that Christ is about to return, because it makes sense to me, because now you would have a great opportunity now to deceive the whole world on fire to come down from heaven and claim it's Christ's return of fire and scorching heat. And people, like when Christ returns with his Father and his wrath for a sinful nations, it's gonna, like when the heavens roll away like a scroll is rolled together quickly in a great and mighty wind, and fire to come down from heaven to scorch 1/3 of the earth's trees and all the green grass, every valley be made high and every mountain be made low, every island be fled away and every mountain. No, frick, people, you will see it. No eye, every eye will see and every tongue will confess, right? Because it says, fall on us for the day of the Lord, the wrath is at hand. So, but first the beast has to deceive the world on Christ's return, I believe. This is why in Revelation 13:13 it says, and the beast that had the deadly wound but did live, deceiveth them by calling fire down from heaven. And I think we could be setting the stage. Like, could Trump now come out on September 23rd and say peace and safety and sudden destruction will come upon them as a woman travailing with pain? Sure. And he could say it after too, but I think when you look at all aspects, like even the new Pope just came out and all the Adventists are like, what? Pope said the Sabbath is holy unto God and that we should all keep Sabbath? Why? Or not all, but because they don't understand. They're so drunk on the Sabbath that they don't see the graven image of heaven, earth, and sea. This is why Christ says, you break even one of the least of my commandments, you break them all. The Jewish community is the prime leaders in the green Sabbath. Well, I believe it's United Nations in Rome, but they're the ones pushing, right? And it's interesting how you could very easily deceive all nations now with Muslim Friday, right? Muslims keep Friday as their holy day, a green day. Green Sabbath and Christian Catholic Climate Sunday, Green Sunday, right? This will be all, I believe this is the three unclean spirits of Revelations, the false prophet, the beast, and the dragon, right? This is interesting how you could deceive all nations at this point. And this would entail now when they blow a nuke in space and say it's a solar flare, and the Gentiles lose their riches or be greatly diminished, right? You could deceive them on fire to come down from heaven. And I think we're very close, because if you want to, if I was the father of lies, like, I mean, this deer is walking broadside on the field, baby. Half the world knows that things are changing and it looks like Christ's word is fulfilling and all these things, right? Then church doesn't realize that after she deceives them by calling fire down from heaven, that many will be deceived and many will wonder whose names were not written in the book of life, slain from the foundation of the world, right? Because not that they don't love God or aren't Christians, it's that the beast has now deceived them by calling fire down from heaven. And then they all said they should make an image to the beast who had the wound by the sword but did live. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in the hand and the forehead. And this comes from the second beast, the one that the whore sits upon, right? And the beast that the whore sits upon are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Sorry, the woman, I believe. But then in Revelation 17:19, it says, and the woman that thou sawest is that great city that ruleth over the kings of the earth. Well, what's John talking about? He's talking about Rome, right? Because she got a deadly wound, but now she is going to emerge after she calls fire down from heaven out of the sea, the holy sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And whoever not worship the beast or its image, right? And that's why they push peace and the planet, right? Because this is about worshiping paganism again, back to the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the fountains of water, right? For the hour of his judgment has come, and fear God and worship him who made the heavens, the earth, and the seas, and the fountains of water. But what's very interesting is, why did the Pope come out and say now Sabbath, right? Is God's day. Because in order to deceive all nations to worship the creation more than the Creator, to all do their part to help save the planet, they need to now all come into that abomination, right? When you see the mother of harlots, when you see all these things, but you see the abomination of desolation stand in the holy place, know that I am near. So now when you're introducing that green Sabbath, like the Sabbath keepers don't, like, I'm not doubting God's day is the Lord's day is Sabbath, right? That I don't want to be married to the other, right? To a harlot, right? But, and I always say divorce the whore, but what I see is that what you will bind on earth as you bind in heaven, right? So you can't serve two masters, right? It doesn't work to worship the beast because you'll become lukewarm, right? If you're going to obey her law to worship creation. I can see that through their smart snare. The beast that they give the power to both speak and light through these smartphones, smart meters, smart TVs, smart lights, smart trucks, smart appliances, smart everything, right? That's the smart snare. It's amazing, that beast that they give, because I believe that will fulfill the second part of the second seal, because the first seal of the horseman and one who sat upon it was given a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Well, didn't Trump just go and almost get his crownship from the king? Never mind North America. It says, no King's Day, no King's Day, no King's Day. This is all fulfilling, people. God puts every man in his position to fulfill his will, right? 1 Corinthians 15:51, it states, I bestow you a mystery. Well, what kind of mystery? The last trump, comma, and the trumpets will sound, and the dead will rise incorruptibly. Well, I already see that when the trumpets sound, the dead are rising, right? That the time of the dead will hear his voice, and when the time of in the not hour, the dead will hear his voice, right? All the parables, it's amazing, right? And this could also mean with the Gentiles losing their riches or be greatly diminished, for in 1 hour such great destruction has come, and in 1 hour such great riches be made null. Because if you want to deceive all the nations on the Gentiles losing their riches, right, then you blow a nuclear bomb and say it's from the solar flare to deceive all the Christians that Christ return in fire and scorching heat and fire and brimstone, right? But to me, it just lines up that this deer is walking broadside on the field, because why would you program the whole internet to believe, or I'm not saying everybody believes that, but everybody now has kind of heard, everybody now has kind of seen, right? This God doesn't hide anything in mystery, right? Every eye will see. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction, everyone in the world will see it. I almost guarantee, unless you're really not watching, like you have no internet or anything like that, but that's not what Christ says, to watch and not be caught unaware. Because when they say peace and safety and sudden destruction will come upon them as a woman travailing in pain, you can see that very clearly, that if they blow that I even seen on the internet a stupid meme that the day of the two suns. Well, then you Google what can a nuclear explosion do in space, it would look like two suns, right? Well, you're programming the internet to lead them into that narrow gate, right? Where you want them. Because I see that in the programming. Like, why else? Like, you're missing a great opportunity, father of lies, if you aren't going to deceive the whole world by Christ's return. And it's not going to happen on 23rd, because the scoffers and the mockers need to come, right? And they will say Christ is over here and Christ is over there and Christ is in the wilderness. This must take place. But I mean, I've seen so many preachers preach on the end times now and they all, Matthew 24 verse, they all read from it, all like, and I'm like, every single preacher leaves out verse 20. It says, pray your flight is not on the Sabbath, nor during the winter. Never mind Sabbath. Where are we going, Lord, during the winter? Why are we praying in that day that our flight is not during the winter or on the Sabbath, right? During the winter. Because if I was playing at war and I wanted to defeat my opponent and bring them into submission, I would wait just before winter to blow a nuke and say that, oh, it was Christ's return, but their dates are wrong because all the calendars are wrong. It's a little bit off, but now we're deceiving the world by fire to come down from heaven, and the Gentiles lose their riches through economic strife and all the infrastructure blown out, right? Because that is interesting how this could all I believe it's going to roll out. Every word actually already. I mean, one of my biggest struggles is build your house on the rock and not on the sinking sand. So when the winds came and the rains came, thy house stood. And when I tell the buddies that, well, I mean, that's not what he's talking about. I mean, yeah, the parables all line up from the great and mighty wind to shake its untimely figs, and the heavens rolled away like a scroll is rolled together quickly, and a great and mighty wind to shake its untimely figs, and the stars fell from heaven, right? This I believe in Revelations, at the end of Revelations, the seals of the sixth seal. This is the space in heaven of half an hour, because from Revelation 6 of the seals, and then it goes Revelation 7 into the 144,000, and then it goes Revelation 8. The sixth seal is fulfilled in a space of half an hour with the first trumpet of God to scorch 1/3 of the earth, trees, and all of that green grass. Right, and then this starts the woes of great tribulation, where 1/3 of the sun will be smitten, and 1/3 of the moon not give her light. Right, and 1/3 of the earth will die of the plagues, 1/3 of the earth will die of the famines, and 1/3 of the earth will die of the bitter waters. I mean, when you look at it like that, then there probably is only 144,000 less of the tribes of Israel. Right? Because if God had not shortened those days, not even the elect would survive. So there's great tribulation coming, people. But first, we must fulfill all what is written. He says, Christ says, for all what is written must be fulfilled. Written in the book of life, slain from the foundation of the world. Right? It's not some, it's all. So have we seen the Christian nations get mocked yet? No, but I would guess it's going to be a good start after September 23rd. And not that it's here nor there. It's God's word fulfilling, right? Because many will come in my name, and they will prophesy in my name. And they said, we performed miracles in your name. And he says, get away from me, for I've never known you. You obey commandments and doctrines and traditions of men and not of God, right? I mean, Satan allows things to happen just like God does. But God says very clearly in the fifth seal, he says, when I believe this is right kind of where the dead are being, because it says all of a sudden there was a multitude standing before God and saying, when are you going to avenge the blood of the saints, in the fifth seal? And it says, be patient, my brothers and sisters. Be patient, for your brothers and sisters must die as you have died, in order to be fulfilled, right? So there is time coming for Christians, and I don't believe that Christian nationalism is going to die. Right, that's where they're gonna. That's where they don't realize that the churches will worship the image of the beast, and they will hate the prophets, because Jesus says they will hate you as they hated me, and they will persecute you as they persecuted me, and they will bring you up before judges and kings in my name's sake, and father will betray son, and son will betray father, and all these things must be taken, and all these things. But you will be a testimony unto them, unto all nations. So I mean, what are you arguing with, right? Same thing Charlie Kirk says, as don't worship the heavens, the earth, and the seas, and the fountains of water, of the creation more than the creator. Like, this is why this guy gets popped, I believe, at 100%, because that you can't have a young, impressionable presidential candidate preaching the Sabbath and don't worship the creation, because the dragon is wroth with two things, people: the commandments of God and the testimony of Christ, right? That's the two things in Revelations. He doesn't care about what religion you are or what they're. He doesn't care. He doesn't need to make the church worship him. He needs to make the churches lukewarm and lawlessness, right? So his divide is to get rid of that first tablet of God, because don't have any other gods. It's so simple, right? When I look at the three religions of the unclean spirits, I mean, it's amazing. I look at it like those Muslims, they don't even have the Bible, but yet they obey it way more than the Christian church today. And it's interesting, they don't even have the Bible. But when you look at, because I read it, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, and recently I Googled yet too, because in their Bible, I think 7 times, don't worship the heavens, the earth, and the seas, and the fountains of water. Worship the Creator, Allah, right? And then I think Moses gave them 6 times the Sabbath in there too. So they have been led astray in adultery as well. I see that. But at the end of the day, this is why all nations have been deceived. But it'll all come back unto God, right? Because this is where there's no adulteress that will enter into the kingdom of heaven. You can't fornicate with the whore and expect to enter the kingdom of heaven. There's consequences to that, people. But yet that burden is light and that yoke is weak, right? I divorce that whore, because God forbid you be married to another, a harlot, right? For if I have risen, shall thou be married to another, right? Our bridegroom liveth. We are not dead to the law. Our bridegroom liveth. And that's why Christ is the Lord over Sabbath, right? Even though the Sabbath people are going to be very deceived because they're so drunk on that Sabbath, they don't even see that graven image of heaven, earth, and sea. I see that very clearly. And now they're all wondering why the new Pope comes out and says that Sabbath is a holy day unto God. Right? What? They're all wondering, what? Comes say, what? Well, because they don't see the green Sabbath. They don't see that paganism of worshiping. And I mean, I do believe that the beast will break the covenant. She will make a covenant with many after 1 week. And she's starting, right? Because she's introducing that God's day and a green day for God unto rest. And she will give them that rest of environment with a little bit of environment attached to it. No checking phones, no checking emails, no driving cars. All do your part. All religion do your part to help save the planet, right? I mean, in my head, that's perfect. I always wondered as a young man growing, how are all these 7 churches in my little growing up town going to worship the image of the beast, right? Like, how is that going to work? And today, wow, that father of lies has been like a lion patiently waiting to devour, right? This man of sin, man of perdition, who opposes himself above all that is called God or that is worship, sitting in the temple of God, stewing himself he is God. And no marvel, Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light who comes like a lamb, right? But speaks like a dragon. And in the end, this beast gets a deadly wound, but did live, right? And she will come up. She will come up out of the sea. I see that. That this will, because she's been preaching environment and climate for the last bunch of years. And the new Pope is backing it totally. This Rome, the last beast of Babylon. It's amazing. And I believe it, like the internet lies to you that the United States is the last beast. No. It's peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. United Nations, right? And this whore that sits upon her, right? That church and state, woman and beast, right? And this is where, to me, I think that I've been following. I mean, I'm going to update everybody, I guess, on what goes on somewhere in the backgrounds, because what I see that with that Pope and them preaching about 23rd, that Jesus is going to come, and 23rd, Trump speaking at the United Nations, and September 23rd is the Jewish Feast of Trumpets where Christ returns. This is a perfect scenario to deceive all nations on Christ's return. Like, I mean, can't say it enough, man. This deer is broadside, right? I always wondered in those parables why Christ said 4 times this snare comes upon all nations and none will escape. Because as an outdoors guy, that always kind of interests me, those, and never really studied it too hard until now. But I see now that this snare could easily come. This snare, and the Gentiles could lose their riches, and the second seal could be fulfilled of the beast that they give the power to both speak and life, to be given a great sword, right? And they were able to kill one another with this great sword, that you can rat your neighbors out through the law of not keeping an environmental day. And you can see that because if the 2 prophets in Revelations, I believe it's 10, say that they had power that it reigneth not during the days of prophecy. Well, can you imagine like that starting next year, it doesn't rain for 7 years like Jacob, right? That they were supposed to prepare their wheat. Jacob told, that's how he became king, because they seen what God had foretold him, right? Because, or became head of the thing that these are things that all prophecy lines up, like just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, right? Like, how do you think God's going to seal them from fire to come down from heaven, right? Well, I don't know. Like, I don't quite understand everything, but I question all the sorts, right? Like, just like pray your flight is not during the winter. Why? Where are we going, Lord? Where are we going, right? Because such will be troubling times. Well, at the end of the day, I can see that. I don't think that is perfectly lined up with Revelations 12, because I believe that will be on the great tribulation where it starts, that our flight is not during the Sabbath nor during the winter. But first, the beast must deceive them by calling fire down from heaven. So these things must all take place first. I don't know if you understand that. Maybe I'm being long-winded today, but I just see that Father of Lies is amazing how to program the whole world. And if you programmed the whole world that Christ is about to return, I mean, this is perfect opportunity to deceive all nations by Christ's return. I know I've said that 2 or 3 times, but I can't emphasize it enough. That I think that That the fig tree is very tender, right? Even Taiwan, China threatening Taiwan this morning, and Russia is going into Ukraine, and you got nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, brother against brother. You got wars and rumors of wars and pestilence and earthquakes and famines and floods in various places, right? But the time is not yet. But when you see that abomination of Daniel spoken about, of desolation, stand in the holy place, right? And this is, he comes to change times, dates, and laws, right? This Daniel, that this beast, and he wants to make lawlessness, right? He wants that first tablet gone. No other gods, right? No graven image. Don't worship creation more than the creator through environmental paganism of heaven, earth, and sea. Don't use God's name in vain. And remember my Sabbath, right? This is the light burden and the weak yoke unto what Christ says is righteousness. And then love thy neighbor as thyself. This is the fulfillment of the whole law. The second tablet is all unto man, right? This is why it becomes lawlessness, but the church doesn't see. Like, they don't see that. They will worship the image over and over. Worship in Revelations. But nope, I'm not deceived.